buffers in residential, commercial, or industrial projects is to provide a visual and physical separation between development and wetlands. Protected wetlands and wetland buffers are often identified by signs, which serve as a reminder for people to stay out of these areas, effectively reducing pollution and habitat disturbance. You can often find signs in our county parks that include information about the ecological significance of wetlands, their role in flood control, and the species they support. For more information on how you can help protect wetlands in your neighborhood, go to mymanatee.org/wetlands.
Hi, I'm James Satcher, Manatee County Commissioner. I'm here at Gamble Creek Farms to recognize and celebrate the important relationships between our farmers, consumers, community leaders, and everyone in between. They ensure that we have a safe and abundant food supply. A nutritious and diverse food supply such as tomatoes, papayas, lettuce, beef cattle, it's all produced by our local farmers and ranchers, and that's one of our many blessings. Manatee County agriculture, natural resources, and food industries employ more than 55,000 individuals and annually contribute more than $3 billion to our local economy. Almost 30% of all jobs in Manatee County are in these vital industries that our community depends on. I want to encourage you to remember the farm-city relationships that have allowed us to create an outstanding quality of life for everyone here in beautiful Manatee County. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome. We're opening a land use meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Today is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, and it is an absolutely beautiful day today in Manatee County. We're going to start off by honoring God and by honoring our great nation. Pastor Bernard Scott of Bayside Community Church is here to lead us in prayer, after which County Commissioner Jason Bearden, who is also a Marine Corps veteran, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able at this time, please stand.
People, but also honor you in this community. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much, Pastor. We appreciate the prayer. We'll then go into announcements and updates to today's agenda. We'll go to Director Nicole Knapp. Ma'am?
Good morning. We have additional public comment for item number 15, PDR 0439GR3, the concessions. It's quasi-judicial, being entered into the record, and these are additional public comments since the agenda was last updated midday yesterday. This concludes the changes.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, would you like to request any items be pulled from today's consent agenda? Any items to pull from consent? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on. We'll go to citizen comment on future agenda items. Are there any citizens here today who would like to come forward and make a comment on an item that is not on today's agenda, but may appear on a future agenda before this board? Okay, seeing none, we'll close citizen comment on future agenda items, and I would just also add that as we hit each item today, we will have citizen comment as that item is heard. So if there is an item you want to speak on, just wait until that item is called, and citizen comment will be a portion of the hearing. Moving then to the consent agenda. Let me get this pulled up. Moving to the consent agenda, while we pull up motions for consent, we'll open it up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board regarding today's consent agenda? Any items on today's consent agenda? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment on consent, and we'll entertain motions on the consent agenda. We have a verbal motion by Commissioner Ron to approve consent, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. All in favor of passing consent, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Madam Clerk, consent passes unanimously by a vote of 7-0. We're moving along quicker than I can go in my...
6-0.
6-0? Who didn't make it today? Oh, Mr. Turner, I apologize. Madam Clerk, it is 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Okay. Sir?
We have approval of plat.
It doesn't matter what's on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so then we'll move on to advertise public hearings, presentation upon request, and we'll start with number 3. Mrs. Knapp, please read number 3 into the record.
Item number 3 is PA 2216, Ordinance 2372, Lazy C Ranch Large-Scale Comprehensive Plan Map and Text Amendment. This item is to be continued to December 7th, 2023 at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter as may be heard.
All right, we need action to continue, ma'am?
Yes.
All right, entertaining motions on item number 3. We have a motion to approve the continuance by Commissioner Cruz, seconded by Commissioner Ballard. We'll open item 3 up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 3 on today's regular agenda? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. There's no one on the board for discussion. We can cast our votes at this time. Madam Clerk, it passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, please read item number 4 into the record.
Item number 4, PDR 2226ZG, Lazy Sea Ranch Holdings. And item is also to be continued to a public hearing set for December 7th, 2023 at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter as may be heard.
All right, we're entertaining motions on the continuance of item number 4, Lazy Sea Ranch. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Cruz, seconded by Commissioner Ballard. We'll open the item up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 4 on today's agenda? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. There's no one on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And it passes, Madam Clerk, unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, item number 5.
Item number 5 is ordinance 2371, Terra DRI number 11. And this item is also to be continued to December 7th, 2023 at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter as may be heard.
All right. So item number 5 is another continuance, entertaining motions. We have a motion by Commissioner Ballard to continue. It's seconded by Commissioner Ron. We'll open the item up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 5 on today's agenda? Item number 5. All right, not seeing anyone, we're going to close public comment. There's no one on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, item number 5 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, item number 6.
Item number 6 is PDR PDC PDMU 9603 ZG R13 Terra Amended General Development Plan. And this item is also to be continued to December 7th, 2023 at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter as may be heard.
All right, item number 6, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ballard. It's been seconded by Commissioner Ron. We'll open it to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 6 on today's agenda? Item number 6. All right, seeing none, we're going to close public comment. No one's on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, the item passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, item number 7.
Mr. Chair.
Oh.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Yes,
One
ma'am.
second. Would it be the pleasure of the board to perhaps consider the continuance of the concession on 15 before we get into all the nitty-gritty? Because there's going to be some discussion, I
While
think, on,
we're doing continuances?
well, we're done with them, aren't we? 7 is
Yeah,
the-
that's what I mean. While we're this is the last.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yes. Does anyone have issue with that? Yeah, their representation is not here.
No,
There's,
We've got, it's covered, Mr. Chair, it's covered.
okay, I'm going to call item 15 then on advice of counsel. Madam, excuse me, well, you are a madam, but Mrs. Knapp, if you please read item number 15 into the record.
Item number 15, PDR 0439GR3, the concessions. And this item is to be continued to January 18th, 2024 at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter as may be heard.
All right, so we have entertaining motions on item number 15. We have a motion to continue by Commissioner Bearden, seconded by Commissioner Van Ostenbridge. Ma'am?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, but one comment to make.
Sure.
On that particular comment. I just want to state for the record, the basis for the continuance is a letter dated November 1st, 2023, from Attorney Ed Vogler, representing the applicant. He states he's not going to be attending the meeting today, so I'm not expecting him to speak on that issue.
Makes sense not to wait. Commissioner Cruz would like to speak, sir.
Yeah, I spoke to our attorneys about this. I want to make sure, because this isn't a normal continuance. I understand why Terra is continuing, Lazy Sea is continuing. They were kind of doing it to help us because concession was going to take up so much oxygen today. So they were moving into a cleaner day. Here, this isn't just a request for continuance because we don't have a full board or whatever. This is a settlement that we voted on and agreed to from a court that said we have to hear it by this particular day. They knew what the day was. They're the ones who stipulated the day. And now at the last minute, when other people have moved, well, public has showed up to speak. We're just going to continue. I mean, do we even have the legal grounds to continue based upon a settlement that was agreed to through the courts? This isn't just an arbitrary hearing. This is a specific hearing.
Mr. Chair, I have some preliminary comments, and if there's any detailed questions, Chief Litigator DeCarlo's in the audience for detailed questions on litigation. Generally speaking, what we agreed to is schedule the public hearing for today. We cannot contractually obligate ourselves to act today, because that's called contract zoning. or if we had a public hearing for 10 hours today and couldn't finish the agenda or require additional information, we would have latitude to continue. We still maintain our legislative discretion to continue the hearing at the request of the applicant. If we deny the request, the applicant could litigate for denial procedures due process on top of other issues. So it's legal advice of our office that the continuance requested by the applicant's attorney, Mr. Vogler, be granted.
Commissioner Cruz, you still have the floor, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I voted no on the settlement in the first place. I think this is a bad idea to even have this. The fact that they're now pushing it down the road seems like they're just playing with us at this point. I mean, they didn't even show up, so they clearly knew they were going to get the continuance. Otherwise, the attorney would at least be here just in case. There's attorneys for other continuances sitting out here in the audience just in case. So, you know, it'll get continued, but I still stand by the fact it shouldn't be continued. It shouldn't be a settlement in the first place. And the fact that they didn't show up, I think, is pretty telling in their confidence that they can just basically tell us what to do.
Okay, thank you, sir. No one else is on the board to speak, so we're going to go to public comment. And I have 6 people who have signed up for public comment. But Ms. Shank, tell me if I'm wrong here. I think I need to make it clear that the motion on the floor is to continue. And so public comment should be directed towards the motion, which is the continuance. Public comment should not be directed towards, you know, the merit of whether or not we should vote this up or down. It's simply whether or not we should continue it or whether we should hear it today. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. So I'll go through the list of folks who have signed up. Olga Zarlenga. Okay. Maggie Mooney. Right. Mark Lyons. Titania Lyons. We'll say Mrs. Lyons. How's that? Okay, not seeing Mrs. Lyons. Danielia Drillman. And Scott Andres. Okay. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to come forward to address the board regarding item number 15, the continuance of item number 15? Anyone else like to come forward to address the continuance of 15? Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. And we have a motion to approve the continuance by Commissioner Bearden. It's been seconded by Van Ostenbridge. There's no one on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes on the continuance at this time. And Madam Clerk, the continuance passes by a vote of 4-2, with Commissioners Ron and Cruz in opposition of continuing, and Commissioner Turner absent. All right. We will then go back in time to item number 7. Mrs. Knapp, if you'd please read item number 7 into the record.
Item number 7 is PDR 2317ZP, the Mitchell at Palmetto. This is a rezone of approximately 9.16 acres, generally located between Bayshore Road, 89th Street East, and US 41 North in Palmetto, from planned development commercial to planned development residential zoning district, and approving a preliminary site plan for a 183-unit multifamily project with at least 25% units being designated as affordable housing. And this is presentations upon request, so should you need one, your staff presenter is Loretta Merrill.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Cruz.
I think my name's on there because that's the one I clicked to speak last time, so I didn't actually put myself on this one.
Okay.
Although I support the project.
Would anyone like a presentation on item number 7? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain motions on item 7. We have a motion to approve item 7 by Commissioner Cruz, seconded by Commissioner Ron. Item number 7 is quasi. I apologize. Would anyone like to disclose any ex parte communication? Okay, hearing none. Why don't we, since we have some more quasi coming, why don't we go ahead and swear folks in at this time, Madam Clerk? So if there's anyone who plans to speak, testify, address this board at any point going forward during the meeting, please stand and be sworn by the clerk at this time.
Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and representations you are about to make to the Board of County Commissioners are truthful and accurate? Thank you. When you step to the podium, please state your name, if you have been sworn, and your county of residence.
All right, you're all on the honor system now. Would anyone like to come forward and address the board on item number 7 on today's agenda? Anyone from the public like to address the board on item 7? All right, not seeing anyone. We'll close public comment. There's no one on the board for discussion. Motion to approve by Cruz, seconded by Ron. We can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, item number 7 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, please read item number 8 into the record.
Item number 8 is Resolution R23-179 to deny application ZL 2207 BTC Redevelopment Bayside Holdings LLC. And Ms. Schenk may have some introductory comments. I'll defer to her.
Okay, item number 8 was the item that was previously denied by the board at your meeting on September 28th. State statute requires the county to prepare written findings of fact and conclusions of law to support the denial, which are gleaned from the staff report and the public hearing record and recited in the applicable resolution. The public hearing was closed on the merits, and I'll give us as a side comment that we have received a request from the applicant for a special magistrate mediation process. So this item may be coming back to you in the future, so we respectfully request the board not to engage in communications or written or oral until we finished concluding this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have a motion to approve the denial by Commissioner Ron, has been seconded by Commissioner Cruz. We will open this up to public comment. Anyone like to come forward to address the board on item number 8 today? Item number 8. All right, we're going to close public comment. Commissioner Ballard is on the board to speak. Ma'am?
So I'm going to abstain from voting on this one. I wasn't present for the initial presentation on September 28th.
Yes, and that is based on the advice of legal counsel.
I need to abstain.
Yes, I also advised Commissioner Ron to abstain from voting since we were absent on
So Commissioner Ron,
28th.
Commissioner Ron, then do you withdraw your motion, sir?
Yes, I will, because I wasn't here.
All right, Commissioner Ron withdraws his motion. So once again, the chair is entertaining motions on item number 8. Item number 8. To a motion to deny by Commissioner Cruz, seconded by Commissioner Satcher. No one's on the board to comment at this time, so we may cast our votes now. You two are casting abstain votes, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, there we have it. So it passes by a vote of 4-0 with Commissioners Ballard and Ron abstaining and Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, item number 9.
Item number 9 is adoption of ordinance number 23116, formerly known as ordinance number 2202, Parish Lakes Community Redevelopment District Boundary Amendment.
Thank you, ma'am. Would anyone like a presentation on item number 9, Parish Lakes? Okay, hearing none, we'll entertain motions at this time. We have a motion by Commissioner Satcher to approve, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. We'll open item 9 up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the board on item number 9 at this time? Item number 9, which is Parish Lakes. All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. We don't have any members on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, item number 9 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, item number 10.
Item number 10 is LDCT 2311, Ordinance 2393. This is a county-initiated land development code text amendment regarding nonconformities created by government acquisition. It's an amendment to the Land Development Code, Chapter 1, Section 107.2, regarding legal nonconforming uses, structures, and lots, clarifying the meaning of the term another governmental agency and implementing some grammatical changes. Section 107.5, regarding nonconforming uses, updating the review process related to conditional uses. Section 107.6, nonconforming structures, editing to conform to the new title to Section 107.8, nonconforming lots, and implementing another government agency modification, and 107.9, nonconformities resulting from exercise of power of eminent domain, revising the title of this section and extending the protections from nonconforming resulting from all the types of governmental acquisitions. Your staff presenter, should you need one, is Mr. Charles Andrews.
Thank you, ma'am. Would anyone like a presentation on item number 10? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain motions. We have a motion by Commissioner Cruz to approve item 10. I'm sorry? Oh, you're right, it's the first hearing, no action required. All right, we'll open this item up to public comment then. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board regarding item number 10 on today's agenda? Item 10. All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. And the first reading has been held. Item number 11 is quasi-judicial. Would anyone like to disclose ex parte communication regarding item number 11? All right, hearing none. Mrs. Knapp, please read item 11 into the record.
PDC 1330, PR2, Gershoni out parcel, an amended preliminary site plan to allow the construction of an approximately 8,100 square foot restaurant on approximately 1.5 acres, zone plan development commercial, generally located at the northwest corner of US 301 and I-75, approximately 650 feet west of 60th Avenue East in Ellenton, and your staff presenter, should you need one, is Laura Gonzalez.
All right, would anyone like a presentation on item number 11? Okay, hearing none, we'll entertain motions on item 11. And we have a motion by Commissioner Satcher to approve. It's been seconded by Commissioner Cruz. We'll open 11 up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 11 on today's agenda? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. No one on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, item number 11 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, item number 12.
Item number 12, PDC 2220 ZP, Commercial Shopping Center at State Road 64 and Uline Road. This is a rezone of approximately 14.9 acres from general agricultural to planned development commercial zoning, approving a preliminary site plan with a maximum square footage allowed for the entire development, including a main parcel, 4 out parcels, 2 retail parcels, and associated infrastructure, being limited to 80,000 square feet of commercial retail uses, generally located at the southwest corner of State Road 64 and Uline Road, and approving a schedule of permitted and prohibited uses as voluntary proffered by the applicant and attached as Exhibit B, and your staff presenter, should you need one, is Loretta Merrill.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 12 is quasi. Would anyone like to disclose ex parte communication? Okay, hearing none. Would anyone like a presentation on item number 12? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain motions on item number 12. And Madam Clerk, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ron. It's been seconded by Commissioner Ballard. We'll open 12 up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 12 on today's agenda? Item 12. All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment at this time. We don't have anyone on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes. And item 12 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Item number 13, Mrs. Knapp.
Item number 13 is PDC 2223 ZP, Storage Now Parish. It's a rezone of approximately 1.5 acres from Village District, Parish Commercial Village Overlay, and 5 acres from Village District to the Planned Development Commercial Zoning District, totaling just over 6.5 acres, retaining the Parish Commercial Village Overlay District on 1.5 acres in the northwest portion of the site, and approving a preliminary site plan for up to 137,550 square feet of mini warehouse uses and 2,945 square feet of office uses for a total of 140,495 square feet, and generally located at the northwest quadrant of US 301 and County Road 675. And your staff presenter, should you need one, is Laura Gonzalez.
Thank you, ma'am. Would anyone like a presentation? Well, it's quasi. Does anyone have any ex parte communication to disclose? No ex parte on item 13. Would anyone like a presentation on item 13? Okay. Then we'll entertain motions on item 13. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ron. I'll second. Seconded by Van Ostenbridge. We'll open 13 up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 13 on today's agenda? Item 13. Okay, seeing no one, we will close public comment. We don't have anyone on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, item 15 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp, item number 14.
Item number 14 is PDI 2312ZG, Titan, Florida rezone. It's a rezone of approximately 4.6 acres, generally located 1/2 mile north of Whitfield Avenue along the west side of 33rd Street East, west of Prospect Road, from light manufacturing airport impact overlay district to the planned development industrial zoning district, retaining the airport impact overlay district and approving a general development plan for asphalt concrete processing, manufacturing, recycling plant. And your staff presenter, should you need one, is Marshall Robinson.
Thank you, ma'am. 14 is quasi. Does anyone have any ex parte communication to disclose at this time? All right, hearing none. We will entertain motions on item 14. It's on your screen now. Motion to approve by Satcher, seconded by Ballard. We'll open 14 up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the board on item number 14 on today's agenda? Item 14. All right, seeing no one, we're going to close public comment. We don't have any commissioners on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And 14 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Moving into advertised public hearings presentations scheduled, and having already held item number 15, we will then go to item number 16. Mrs. Knapp?
Item number 16 is PI 1506ZGR, alum dewatering facility. This is amending and restating ordinance PDI 1506ZG to add 9.93 acres, providing for the rezone of that 9.9 acres on the south portion of a 146.83 acre site located on the south side of Waterline Road, from general agricultural to planned development public interest zoning district, approving a general development plan for the entire 146.83 acre site for the expansion of the existing water treatment facility, inclusive of the previous approved uses on the GDP. And your staff presenter filling in for Rosina Leiter today is Laura Gonzalez.
All right. This presentation scheduled.
And the applicant is actually Kimley Horn.
The applicant is Kimley Horn. It is ex parte. Does anyone have any, it is quasi. Does anyone have any ex parte communications to disclose? No. Okay, hearing none. Who is here to represent the applicant?
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Kelly Klepper with Kimley Horn and Associates, and I have been sworn.
Your microphone on? Start that over.
Try that.
Move the mic.
Just need to be closer.
Yes.
Okay, either that or I'll use my the voice I use with my sons. Good morning. For the record, Kelly Klepper with Kimley Horn and Associates, and I have been sworn. I'm also a Manatee County resident. We're here today to ask for approval in concert with working with Manatee County Public Works and Utilities for the expansion and also the update of the dewatering facility located off of Waterline Road and Dam Road out in East County. We've got a very brief presentation we're going to walk through, and I will say that this is one of those projects that is, I'll call it, critical infrastructure and assets for the county, especially as we continue to grow and develop as a community. With me today is also Mr. Jordan Walker, who is our site civil and design engineer with our utilities team. Jordan has been working with your utilities team on this project for some time, including capacities, preliminary designs, locations, et cetera. So Mr. Walker is here. He's also been sworn. If we do have specific questions on the function and functionality of the facility itself. As Ms. Knapp noted, that we are asking for a rezone and also I'll call it the expansion of the existing general development plan that was previously approved. What you see on the screen is the entirety of the county's property. We're not asking for a rezoning to update the entire property. There's a small sliver, and when you look at the maps, you'll realize that there was what we kind of look at as almost like an omission of property at that time. So from this application, there is a rezoning that is specific to about just under 10 acres, and then the update of the general development plan of about 150 acres. So I'll try to make sure to delineate and differentiate those as we're going through this discussion. Again, we're here on behalf of the county. The general location of the property is located in East County. It is off of Waterline Road and Dam Road, adjacent to the county's existing dewatering facility and infrastructure in that portion of the county. This is the previously approved general development plan. About 148 acres. You can see that there are a number of existing facilities on the site. The site is in operation, but as technologies have changed, as efficiencies have changed, as I'll say improvements in environmental quality and cleanliness, as well as reductions in general impacts from such facilities, what we've started to realize in working with the county is that there needs to be some additional facilities located in this area. The specific area that we're talking about is generally, if you look on this, the map, it is that one kind of finger protruding north from the large box. So this is on the south side of the roadway. As we've been looking through this project, and there again, the existing facility is going to remain there. The proposed facilities are going to be located on the larger square, and we'll zoom in and show you that in just a second, as well as the area that is the 10 acres immediately adjacent to the larger box. One of the things we wanted to make sure to very clearly identify is the fact that this is an existing facility. We're talking about an expansion that is something that is desperately needed by this community as we continue to grow so that we can provide clean water and also address those types of potable facilities. General location in the aerial that you can see here. So the area that is in green is the area in question specifically as it relates to the zoning. And we'll zoom in on that in just a second. The boundary that's in red, and I apologize, it's a little difficult to see that, is there again the boundary of the existing general development plan. The facilities that we're talking about would be located within the green as well as portions of the red on the south side. When we start talking about the future land use, this is one of those that is, I'll say, one of those instances where the comprehensive plan is actually consistent, it's correct, with the public, semi-public. When we look at the zoning, the agricultural zoning district that is currently on the property right now is not consistent with the comprehensive plan. So part of this is also to bring this property into compliance with the county's comprehensive plan. Hence the reason we are proposing to rezone this property from general agricultural A to the PDPI, that Plan Development Public Interest. As part of the process, because there was a general development plan previously approved, we're also required to amend and update the entirety of that plan. There was a number of discussions that were undertaken with both the utility staff as well as planning staff to ensure that the general development plan as referenced would be updated to incorporate this 9 acres that's owned by Manatee County. This is, I'll say, very much a conceptual site plan that we've included within portions of our documents. Again, we're talking about the facilities on the south side. What you'll start to see along this property, especially the boundary there, and we're going to start from Dam Road, Waterline Road, and work our way to the south and southwest. There is a fairly extensive landscape buffer that is within the county's property. There is a drainage facility located on the property. There are 2 facilities, I'll call it the round circles that you see towards the left. Those are actually recessed into the ground, so they're only protruding about 10 feet above the ground at the end of the day. And I've got some graphics that will illustrate that as well. Those are portions of the tanks that are needed for this facility. The larger rectangle that you see right there, and I use that term kind of jokingly, is about a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot facility that is about 25, 30 feet tall. So very much consistent with an existing and or proposed single-family residential structure that you would typically see out in this portion of the county. So the landscape plan, we've also provided landscaping again along the Dam Road and Waterline Road. We've also provided additional landscaping along the county's buffer to the southeast. They're again trying to be respectful of this. There are some additional aspects from access as well as some on-site, but there again, the facility has been located so it's further removed from the public street. It's more centrally located within the county's property. Facilities have been recessed or put into underground, and facilities are also being, and processes are being done within an enclosed structure. The structure itself is soundproofed. There are limitations on the lighting as far as the height and things of that nature, as well as traffic and transportation, all of which have been discussed at length with staff as well as a number of other entities. So the facility, I know it's a little difficult to kind of get the gauge on this, but this is literally about a 3,000 square foot facility, 25 to 30 feet tall. So in essence, the same as a 2-story residential structure. You can see that those tanks there again have been recessed in the ground. They are less than a third of the height of the existing facilities that are located on the north side of the street. And this is looking from the building towards Waterline and Dam Road. The green area is the retention basin, so in essence, any and all drainage that is generated from the site is going into this facility and then it's percolating into the ground. In extreme events, it does, I'll say discharge from the site, but the site has been over-designed to accommodate the stormwater on this property itself. So at the end of the day, what we've done is over-designed to make sure from a visual, from an aesthetics, from an access, as well as just a facility itself for the overall benefit of the county as a whole. So we would ask, based off of the Planning Commission's positive recommendation, we would ask for your approval of the rezoning as well as the amended GDP. And again, I'm here to answer any questions, as is Mr. Walker.
All right, I don't have anyone on the board. I would just thank you for adding the conceptual site plan and the landscape plan to the information packet. But no one else is on the board for questions, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And who is here to present for staff?
Hi, good morning. This is Laura Gonzalez with Development Services, and I have been sworn. I agree with the applicant's presentation. I have my own presentation, but it's basically the same as the presentation that the applicant did.
Would anyone like
Any
a duplicative
questions?
presentation? Okay. We'll pass. Thank you very much.
Any question?
Any questions for staff?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll open this item up to public comment then. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board regarding item number 16 on today's agenda? Item 16. Seeing no one? I do have Sharon Mitchell signed up. Is Sharon Mitchell here?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I had somebody help me, and my name should have been on 17, not 16.
I will put you on 17. Thank you. All right, we're going to close public comment then. And is there any discussion amongst or debate amongst commissioners? Hearing none, I think we're good to entertain motions at this time. We have a motion by Commissioner Ron to approve. It's been seconded by Commissioner Bearden. We've held public comment. No one's on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, it passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0, with Commissioner Turner absent. Mrs. Knapp.
Item number 17 is PDPI 2311ZG, Rehab Hospital, Bradenton Daughters of G&M LLC. This is a rezone of approximately 3.87 acres, generally located on the south side of State Road 70, approximately 1/2 mile east of US 41, from professional office medium and residential multifamily RMF 6 to Plan Development Public Interest, PDPI, zoning district, and approving a general development plan for approximately 62,327 square feet of a hospital rehab center. And your staff presenter is Marshall Knapp.
Thank you. This is quasi. Does anyone have any ex parte communication they would like to disclose on item number 17? All right, hearing none. Who is here to represent the applicant?
Good morning. Good morning, Don.
Don.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Stephen Thompson. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Najmi Thompson. I have been sworn, live in Sarasota County. With me this morning, I also have Edwin Mueller, who is the project planner, who's going to be making the presentation in regard to the site plan and the compliance with the county code and land development code. However, I do have a couple of comments before we start our presentation. I just want to say that I've been involved in many zoning matters over the last couple of years, and to me, this is probably one of the most unique situations that I have been involved in. As you may know, the Planning Commission recommended denial for this request. I was not at the hearing. I was retained afterwards based upon the denial, but I did look at the tape of the Planning Commission. And the only reason that this Planning Commission recommended denial for this request was because of their concern about noncompliance with the east side yard setback. And I mean, again, they were all in favor, in my opinion, based upon that, but but had a concern about that setback. Since the Planning Commission hearing, the planning staff came back to us and indicated there was a mistake in the setback requirements as proposed and required by the planning department. And instead of what was required under that original site plan that went to the Planning Commission, 55 feet, it was really only 25 feet. And we have always had a 25-foot setback. We certainly do appreciate the staff coming forth and saying there was a mistake. And I believe, again, in looking at that Planning Commission and the motion made, it was really specific to that eastern setback and the 55. I think if the Planning Commission understood there was only a 25-foot setback and we met that county-required setback, it would have been approved. But at this point in time, I'm going to ask our planner to go through the presentation. We do have other experts to respond if there are any questions that come up, civil engineering or traffic, and then I'll make a few concluding remarks. Thank you.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Edwin Mueller from Insight Studio. Our offices are in Palm Beach County, and I have been sworn in. I'm going to briefly go through the request. We're here on behalf of the applicant requesting a rezoning on 3.87 acres from PRM Professional Office Medium and RMF6 Residential Multifamily to the PDPI zoning district, and to allow a general development plan of a rehabilitation office center, 62,327 square feet. We have two additional special approval requests. One, namely the elimination of a vehicle use landscape buffer along the western edge of the property, and the other one, the elimination of the 5-foot screening buffer required along the western edge. Just to contextualize the site for you guys, the site is located at the intersection of 5th Street West and 53rd Avenue West. The road, 53rd Avenue, is a principal arterial urban corridor as defined in the comp plan, and the intersection which we are upon is actually a designated activity node as seen as your comp plan, and we're about a half-mile east of US 41, 53rd Avenue, which is another activity node. The site, again, is just under 4 acres and used to be a Wells Fargo bank, which is now vacant. And looking at the zoning across the corridor, we feel that there is a healthy mix of zoning districts along the corridor where a rezoning to the PDPI is both accurate and timely with the development of this activity node. If we were to look at the base development potential of what could be built today based on its current zoning designation, you could get about 3 to 4 stories with an FAR of 1.0 and build on the residential portion of the site up to 20 dwelling units an acre. The PRM along the frontage would allow medium office. Now, zooming in, I just wanted to take a deeper look at the site as it exists today. You will see that along 53rd Avenue West, we have 2 existing curb cuts, one closer to the intersection and one along the eastern northeastern corner of the site. And to our east is a professional office building, single story. To our west immediately to our west is a 25-foot sliver of land that is owned by the Chateau Village, just to the south of us. And beyond is an FPL substation, which we know those are not going anywhere anytime soon. That being said, I want to take a look at the general development plan with you guys, where we're proposing a 3-story rehabilitation hospital, again, 62,327 square feet with 60 beds. In working with FDOT and county traffic reviewers, we've been amenable to shutting down and not utilizing that westernmost access driveway that currently exists, and only utilizing the one in the northeast corner of the site. And then another couple site elements I wanted to point out was an existing 25-foot access easement that is located along the western edge of the property. and just beyond that is that sliver of land owned by the Chateau Village. When we look at some of the PDRs, the property development regulations for what would be a rezoning to PDPI, we are now meeting, once this sort of mix-up of the setback was cleared up, we're compliant with all the front, rear, side setbacks of the code, where we are providing a front setback of 161 feet, rear setback of 182, and on the sides along the west 55 and on the east 25. As a result of Planning Commission, I thought it was important to also talk about structure-to-structure separation of what's actually seen out there and what would be seen. From the east, the closest structure would be one of the single-family homes on the southeast corner of the site, and that is approximately 55 feet away from what would be the proposed facility. From the south, we're about 200 feet away from the closest structure, and then from the west, beyond the sliver and the FPL substation, our closest structure would be 345 feet approximately to our facility. Now, speaking about the operator specifically, this is Nobis Rehabilitation Partners. They are a national operator for inpatient rehabilitation services, and they are have offices and locations all over the country, and they're excited to join Manatee County. And at this specific location, they're going to be providing services for patients that have gone through some acute illness or event and require intense rehabilitation services inpatient. The average stay for these type of facilities is anywhere between 10 to 12 days and helps patients get back on their feet and allow them to get back to their normal lives. In terms of the value add for the community, I do want to stress that this would add approximately 125 skilled workers to the county, where they're coming in with advanced education and competitive salaries, of course. This is just a conceptual rendering of what that facility might look like internally. And in analyzing the criteria and staff analysis of the criteria for the rezoning, the building height compatibility, the general design requirements for plan developments, and the PDPI specifically, we're compliant across the board with the land development code. And when it comes to the two specific approval requests, we're also compliant with the criteria and standards for those. With that being said, we have members of our team here for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Stephen Thompson. And again, this request is really for a physical rehabilitation hospital. There were some initial questions when it first was proposed by whether or not this was going to be alcohol or drug. No, it's physical. That, I think, addressed a lot of the concerns of the neighbors, and that's why you're not going to hear a lot of concerns from the neighbors, because I think once they understood what this was, they felt very comfortable with it. And we believe that this really is a compatible use in the area. This facility will actually provide services for residents in this area. Again, it's after you're discharged from the hospital doesn't keep you in that long anymore, and many times you're not ready to return home. So this provides that basis so you can rehabilitate yourself, and it's really short term, but it gets you back into your home. And again, it's in an area where we think that there will be a need for that facility. There will not be any adverse impacts from this facility. There's not going to be a lot of noise and light coming from, the patients of this facility. And again, we think that it complements the area and will provide an important service. We believe, based upon the testimony and also the staff report, that this request is compliant with the county's comprehensive plan and land development code. We would request approval with the two special approvals. And we do have our experts here if you have any further questions. Thank you, though.
All right, questions for the applicant. Commissioner Cruz.
I said one. It's more just out of curiosity. According to the environmental, according to everything else, there's no issues with this site. So I'm just curious why the intent of the site plan is to push this furthest to the east as opposed to the west, whereas the east has the single-family homes and the west has a FPL site, which obviously you're not going to impact whatsoever. It just seemed like we were pushing right up on the 25-foot buffer to the east, and even your map where you showed 55 foot from the closest structure one direction and 300 and something feet to the other. What was the justification for it? More just out of curiosity why it was put that way.
Well, one of the reasons is that there's an easement that runs along that easter that goes to the chateau. And when we first started, we talked to the people at the chateau, recognized that easement, and that was really one of the reasons that we wanted to stay away from that easement.
Understood. You still have a pretty decent size cushion between there's a 25-foot easement, then the other 25-foot easement, and then there's a buffer. At least according to I know it's not the scale, I'm looking at a picture, but there is still excess additional space there before you get to the start of your building, whereas the other side, you have a 25-foot buffer on the other with a single-family home on the other side, and you're pushed up against that 25-foot buffer. It's more just curiosity. I think the project's great. I think the property's great. I don't have a problem with it. It was more just, I wasn't sure if there was a justification on why you were pushing it all the way to one edge as opposed to the other, whereas the other edge made more sense.
Because of that easement and our discussions with chateau people. And also, you take a look at the building to building, there's a pretty significant separation. It's 25-foot, setback, but the building separation, you're really 55 feet.
Understood. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying. I mean, 60 feet's better than 55. 100 feet's better than 60. I'm just saying there was an opportunity to create even more buffer, which seemingly is not like sometimes we see things clustered or pushed because you're protecting wetlands or there's some other reason. It didn't seem like there was any justification other than you want to be a few feet closer to the sunrise. I couldn't understand. We're just curious.
For the patience.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we don't have anyone else on the board for discussion or for questions for the applicant, so then we will move to staff. Marshall?
Good morning. My name is Marshall Robinson. I'm a staff planner, and I have been sworn. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, it's my fault. When we took these to the Planning Commission, we did levy a 55-foot setback at that project, and after we got through the Planning Commission, Rosina and I sat down, we combed through the code, we looked at it. PDPI is one of those peculiar, unique zoning districts, most of which we fill our parks and things like the Dewatering facility with, and they don't have any development standards in the PDPI. And there is a provision in the code for measuring building height, 401(3)(d)(2), which talks about anytime you have a building higher than 35 feet, then the setback must be equal to or greater than the height of the building, and they came in with the 55-foot high building, and we put a 55-foot setback in all directions for that project. And I believe the applicant is correct. I think the Planning Commission's biggest concern was not meeting what they thought was a 55-foot required setback to the east. Here on the presentation, I would want to point out something about the location of this. We can see the 1,500-foot activity node. We are in an activity node. The project is on an urban corridor in 53rd Avenue. It's in a community redevelopment area, and it's also a part of the Southwest Tax Incremental Financing District. Here's another look at the property and some of the surrounding areas that the applicant was speaking of. Here is the adjusted and corrected presentation slide for the site plan. And I think the applicant, Mr. Cruz, Commissioner Cruz, could probably give you a little bit more information. What was heard at the Planning Commission about that 55 feet to the west versus the 25 shown to the east, I think they got some loading docks and some dumpsters, dumpster pads in some locations that if they did shift the building over, I was told that the dumpsters and the loading areas would actually have to go to the opposite to the east, and that would put those loud trucks and banging metal trash cans closer to the residents. But I can let the applicant speak a little bit more on the engineering and the site design. So we have corrected it, and I would like to correct the applicant. It's not a 25-foot requirement to the east. Actually, what the required setback to the east is a 15-foot setback, and that's predicated by the PDC development standards. And you can see that the applicant left the 25-foot of separation for the building, which thereby exceeding the 15-foot requirement. And they've also held the separations to the north, to the south, and to the west. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know that I got any more details to give other than that, but be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So Marshall, I'll start off. My question is regarding ingress and egress.
Yes, sir.
The road is certainly grades out as an F. I can't imagine.
Yes, sir. We had some.
Probably only because the lowest grade is an F. So this may not be the, the time and the, as through the timeline when we address that, but they have two curb cuts. I can't imagine they're going to use or we would want them to use two curb cuts. It certainly needs a decel lane, turn lane. Then you have the issue of a signalized intersection at the corner of the property, which further complicates ingress and egress. Obviously, it'd be great if we could somehow utilize and open up what was intended with the 25-foot, I can't think of the name of who it is that owns the 25-foot buffer. It's the
Chateau Village.
Chateau. If Chateau's easement could be utilized, then you could make a legitimate interchange out of that, but we're not able to. So then I am hoping we're looking at a right in, right out with, a decel lane in the property with a single main entrance. Is that what we're going to be looking at?
Mr. Chair, we've got our transportation staff here that can speak to the operational analysis. That operational analysis is another review that would come in during administrative approval for a final site plan. And at that time, they'll conduct an operational analysis and then take all things into consider, access management, separation distances, probably to include any recommendations that might come from the existing easement that they don't own.
I'd like to hear from traffic on the matter.
Sure. I do want to point out, and traffic might not be aware of this before we get traffic up here. The applicant in the early stages talked to FDOT, and the property next door to the east was trying to gain access. FDOT wouldn't give them access. So access is very limited along this stretch of road.
It is.
And what I'd like to point out that I don't think has been mentioned on the site plan is on the east and on the west, there are proposed cross-access locations for access management because of the restricted access along 53rd. So I didn't hear anybody point that out on the staff report, and I wanted to point out that they are showing proposed cross-access to provide more access management.
So they are proposing cross-access to the east?
Yes, sir. If you look in the northeast corner, kind of up by where their access arrow is bolded in black.
I have my own map pulled up here. Yeah. So, all right.
It's on the GDP.
That helps. Then I think
It's on the revised GDP.
Yeah, then I think I'm ready for traffic.
Good morning, Commissioner. My name is Nelson Galeano, Transportation Planning, and I have been served. Regarding access, we need to consider several items. The first one is, of course, the speed along the adjacent road, which is the 53rd. The second one is the location of the access with respect to the other accesses. And the third one is the number of accesses that exist today. First, remember, we have a facility that has a 40 miles per hour speed. We have two accesses, and the idea is to consolidate the access. Having access consolidation is a way to reduce the number of conflicts and therefore increase the safety conditions of the roadway. And the other one is speed, location, and yes, in this as Marshall said, this depiction doesn't show the other accesses, the adjacent accesses. The best location to place the access is what we have here on this depiction, and of course the possibility to cross-access stays. At this level, we at the GDP, we have essentially the location, and we don't discuss deeply the details of how will be the access by means of the operation analysis.
All right, so you don't want to get into whether it's going to be right in, right out, and you don't want to get into turn lanes now?
No, now.
Okay. Well, then I'll respect that, and I will simply leave you with it is the desire of this commissioner that it be right in, right out, and that there be a required decel turn lane. All right. That's all that I had. Commissioner Ron, you're not, you haven't pushed your button, but you're sort of twitching in your seat over there, so and you're the district commissioner.
For a second, I'm on the board.
All right, Commissioner Ron, you're up, sir.
Yeah, my concern is also with you, Mr. Chair. This area right here on 53rd Avenue is pretty tough, especially when you're heading west and someone wants to make a left-hand turn and the traffic just piles up along 53rd there, right before the light at Fifth. I guess my question is that there currently is a bank building there, and they currently have an ingress and egress right there. Is that where on their map, it looks like they're proposing the same ingress and egress right there? So,
I don't think they're proposing anything.
I mean, they got their little arrows up in that, right there, as where their ingress and egress would be. So I'm assuming that to be the same place where the bank's ingress and egress would be. But my concern is the traffic on this. Trying to do a left-hand turn into that project heading west is going to be a mess. So I don't know how we can restrict it or whatever, but I think a right in, right out would be the correct way to do that.
Discussion for another day, but
yeah.
I mean, while we're sitting here looking at
We
this
gotta talk
road,
traffic.
let's talk traffic for a minute. I mean,
yeah.
I think we should have staff look into, similar to what was done on 41, installing a median or some kind of a divide on this road to eliminate left-hand turns on the road, to improve flow.
And
Something to look at. Come back, I'm not the traffic expert, but I know I've dodged plenty of abrupt left-hand turns on that road.
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yeah, I was trying to put myself. They actually did that because I used to go to Auto Nation right at that corner, and people used to make left turns into the side of it near the service, and because it was tying up all the traffic, because it was so dangerous, a median was put in. Now you have to go all the way out to 14th to make a left to do it. So it's not unheard of, and it did make that whole intersection a lot safer and kept people from backing up waiting for left turns. So
Make things flow.
that's a logical thing. Put a raised median there, make people U-turn it at 5th to get in.
Right. I mean, it's your district, Ron, but
Yeah, I mean,
just throwing it out there.
no, I agree with Commissioner Cruz. I mean, if we put some type of traffic abatement right there, send them up to Fifth, make them do a U-turn, I think it's right at. Well,
Yeah, you said you agreed with
I thought you
Cruz.
said the
I'm like, this is
median.
my idea, but okay.
Well, I agree with everybody. So
There we go.
But I don't know if that's the right time or place this conversation now, but I
Probably
think
not,
that needs to
but-
be looked at.
Yeah, but we know staff are listening, so there we go. Commissioner Ballard, you're next on the board, ma'am.
So I traveled that area a lot, I think, as we all do. But my question is, how much traffic is this rehabilitation hospital really going to add? I mean, it's going to be minimal. So, I mean, these are people who are recovering from significant injuries. They're not going to be going in and out. So, I mean, mostly the traffic is going to be either people visiting their loved one who's staying there, or the people who work there. So if we looked at that, if we look at the traffic study, it looked like at peak it was like 23 trips. So I mean, I absolutely hear where you're coming from, and I think that things do need to be done to improve that segment of roadway. But I don't think that this project is really the linchpin that's gonna make things unbearable compared to what they are now.
Well, I would agree with that. I just think that it's a good standard to start, requiring the right-hand turn lane on their property, along with looking at the road as a whole as a separate conversation.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay. Commissioner Satcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate what everyone said, along with what Commissioner Ballard said. The peak trips, I just don't know how for a project this size or a peak parcel this size in this location, I don't know that we could do any better. I mean, as far as something that's going to impact traffic minimal, but help the economy because of the workers. So I don't know. I think it looks like a pretty good project. And then just for in general, I hope we move not towards a whole, I know that sometimes it's necessary, but I hope we move eventually to having more of the turn lanes and not necessarily more of the cut-off medians, because those do frustrate residents. I'm getting a lot of calls about the one up at 301 in Fort Hamer, which used to have a no U-turn sign, and FDOT worked together with staff and we got fixed. So But anyway, that's just, like you said, maybe a conversation for another day. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. And on the MPO, we have this program called Destination Zero, which essentially is a project aimed towards reducing fatalities and serious injuries on roads. And left-hand turns are a significant cause of fatalities and major injuries.
Is that even if you have the lane, even if you have the turn lane, or is
If
it
you
if
have,
you're
if you have
trying
a
to turn
turn
straight
lane,
off
you're
of-
turning off of the road into a business, that's safer. But if you're turning out of a business, you're crossing the entire road going left.
Right.
That's a different scenario. So-
Understood.
And in this location, there's just unfortunately not, the right-of-way constrictions don't allow for the construction of a turn lane, a suicide lane, as you would call it. Otherwise, there would be one.
Understood. Yeah, I probably didn't make it clear, because, yeah, someone coming out, that does make a whole lot of sense. I was thinking of someone headed west on 53rd being
Right.
able to turn in if there was a lane there, but yeah, absolutely. Turning across that traffic, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Knapp, Ron, and Cruz. Mrs. Knapp.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to circle back to Nelson and maybe have him explain why this is perhaps the best location versus centrally located or on the west side of the parcel, and then what limitations we're under because it's FDOT's jurisdiction.
Thank you, Mrs. Knapp. Two topics that I want to add. The first one is the ratio, value capacity ratio of the road is 75. It means, imagine we have a glass and the glass is full only 75% of his capacity. That is exactly what happened on this road. The traffic value is only 75% of the total capacity that the road can handle. And that's a different item. The second item, we need to remember that the 53rd Street Avenue is, of course, an FDOT facility. In this case, the jurisdiction and the improvements are dictated essentially by FDOT standards, and the applicant should be aware of this condition and perhaps handle with FDOT in terms of how will be the access configuration for this project. Regarding the access, the location of the access, again, we believe that although the picture doesn't show the adjacent accesses, that is the best one in terms of safety, speed, location, and relationship and spacing with the adjacent access on the parcels and vicinity of this project.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Ron and then Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like this project. I really don't have any issues with it. Mine, again, is just the left-hand turns when you're heading west on 53rd. My old office used to be right there at 53rd and 9th, and every day there was an accident on a left-hand turn, every single day. So that's my only concern, is if we can figure that out. I mean, I think the project's well fitted, it looks great, and I don't have any issues with it other than that.
Well said, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, I also just want to clarify, I like the project, I'm going to vote in favor of it. My comments were more just something for staff to consider as we go through. I mean, the alternative, this is a future land use R9. I mean, in theory, you could put 34 apartment units in here. I mean, the traffic would be much more significant with alternative uses. I think this is a low, as Commissioner Satch said, a low use option here. I think this is a great option, but it's just, keep an eye on the traffic. I mean, we want to make sure this is safe. I hate this stretch road. I drove it yesterday and contemplated going down to 57th to loop around it just to avoid this particular intersection. So pay attention to it, but I do support the project. It's not going to affect my vote.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any final comments, Marshall?
Nothing further, sir.
All right.
No.
All right, we'll open this up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward? We'll start with Sharon Mitchell. Mrs. Mitchell, please state your first and last name. It's redundant, I know, but and your county of residence, and tell us if you've been sworn. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Sharon Mitchell. I'm from Manatee County, and I've been sworn. I just had a couple of questions, and I know you guys don't answer the questions, but if somebody from the project owner, or whoever, if they could get in touch with me, I left my email address, because the retention pond on this, it is almost up to if somebody's got a map, I don't have one, but if you could see, the retention pond is almost right next to the properties at the south side of of what they're doing. So I'm just wondering, how's that going to affect? If that overflows, we already have an overflow problem in Chateau Village. So if that overflows from there, we're going to have even bigger problem. So if somebody could get back to me to tell me something about that, that's, I guess, the main thing, since you guys have already talked about the easement and all that other stuff. So, we were not notified. I don't know, this gentleman said that he spoke with Chateau Village. And as far as I can tell, all the people I spoke with, nobody was notified of any of this until we got the notification for the last meeting, which I don't think we had any input at that point. So if somebody could address that as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward to address the board on item number 17 on today's agenda? Item number 17. All right, we're going to close public comment. And Marshall, would you like to address the constituents' concern?
Marshall Robinson, staff planner. I believe the advertising for the previous public hearing was in order. They were not found out of order scrubbing the required mailing list for all those that were to receive notification.
What about the potential of the overflow of the retention pond?
Do we have stormwater? Maybe Denise could speak on that, or somebody from Dev Review.
I think just sort of a quick description of how those systems operate.
Denise Greer for staff. I would ask that the applicant come up to see if they've done any preliminary design requirements yet, but they will be allowed to discharge the way that the site currently discharges. I'm assuming that's towards the DOT right away. So there's going to be an outfall. They're shaking their head, but I'll let them come up to the DOT right away. So it should be falling to the north and not to the south. I understand that her concern about the overflow, though, and maybe he can address that too, on what storm events the DOT is going to make them design to.
Okay.
Good morning. Kyle Morrell, Bowler Engineering. Offices in Hillsborough County, and I have been sworn in. So for the stormwater pond, we have designed it. It's going to run all 36 FDOT storms. We're maintaining the existing flow patterns, which go north into a DOT system. And this is a dry system, so it will percolate the first 1/2 inch of rainfall within 72 hours. And we do have a swale just south of the retention pond in our full design that will capture any off-site flows and divert them around the site, as to not have any adverse impacts to any of the neighboring properties.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Marshall, do you have anything in closing? There's no one on the board for discussion.
Nothing further, sir.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any final comments?
Yes, we appreciate that. A number of the comments had to do with the traffic. We have our traffic engineer to address and to answer any further questions. I'll ask her to come up and address some of the questions that were raised. And if you have additional questions, she'll respond to those too.
Good morning, Jane Caldera, resident of Pinellas County, and I've been sworn. I did prepare a traffic impact statement that staff has reviewed and approved, and I think that was in your package, as Commissioner Ballard mentioned. And just to confirm that the traffic generation for this inpatient rehabilitation facility is on the low side. I think you were correct in your 32 trips coming in the AM peak hour. It's one of the lowest generators, traffic generators, compared to the other acceptable and allowable uses that could be on this site, such as additional multifamily units and some of the other things that are allowed in the existing zoning. Regarding the access point, we have had preliminary discussions with DOT. We will be fully reviewing with DOT the correct design of the driveway. There'll be some reconstruction of the western driveway. The middle driveway to the site is planned to be closed, and we'll work with DOT and county staff to make any operational improvements and restricting left turn movements as they see appropriate through the study. So it's certainly something we plan to do as we get to the next stage of permitting. And if you have any
Great.
questions.
Any questions? No, ma'am. Thank you so much.
We certainly appreciate the meeting this morning. You know, when you take a look at what we're proposing, and I think the traffic engineer indicated, this is significantly less than what we could do by right. I mean, this could be used for multifamily, rental apartments, which would generate an awful lot of more traffic. But I think importantly, we think that the use itself is really important for this community and the overall community. We've worked very hard with the staff. We believe that, and I think the staff also shares that confirmation that this request does comply with your land development code and comprehensive plan, and we would just request approval with the 2 specific approvals. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any final debate amongst commissioners? All right, hearing none, we've held public comment. Chair will entertain motions at this time. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Satcher. It's been seconded by Commissioner Cruz. There's no one on the board for discussion. We can cast our votes now. Madam Clerk, the item passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Let's take a quick 10 minutes, and when we return, we'll power through the rest of this agenda. We're in recess for 10 minutes.
Oh, this is the big one.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're continuing through our land use meeting today. We're on item number 18. Mrs. Knapp, if you would please read that item into the record.
Item 19 is the first of two hearings, so there's no action today. LDCT 2312, Ordinance 2398, a county-initiated land development code text amendments regarding mobile vending. This is amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 2, definitions, Chapter 4, zoning, and Chapter 5, standards for accessory and specific uses and structures, and Chapter 10, transportation management, to define the use of mobile vending, to add mobile vending units as an accessory and temporary use, to add mobile vending parks as a use in the specified zoning districts, to set forth specific use criteria for mobile vending units, mobile vending parks, and applicable parking standards. And your staff presenter is Charles Andrews.
Excellent. Mobile vending. Any questions for Mr. Andrews after the reading? All right, hearing none, we'll open it up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board regarding item number 18, the first reading for the mobile vending code amendment? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. And no action is necessary, so we can close item 18 and move on to item number 19, Mrs. Knapp.
Number 19 is your adoption hearing for LDCT 2301, Ordinance 2304. It's a county-initiated land development code text amendment regarding subdivisions. This is to add the definition of certified lots within a shopping center, adding the definition of parent parcel, removing regulatory language from the definition of subdivisions, modifying the definition of subdivision major, subdivision minor, and modifying the definition of certified lots in Chapter 2, adding access by easement in minor subdivisions under limited circumstances in Chapter 3, add standards for certified lots within a shopping center, to Chapter 3, review authority and procedures, Section 33.2, subdivisions and approved required, modifying Chapter 10 regarding private commercial access to allow access by easement and certified lots within a shopping center. And your staff presenter is Bill O'Shea.
Thank you. Mr. O'Shea, this is the first reading or the second reading?
First.
Correct.
This is for adoption, second reading.
No,
Okay.
wait, let's get clear here. The next one, the subdivisions for adoption. The food truck says,
We are on 19, ma'am, yes.
what's 18?
We did 18 already.
Oh,
That was the first reading for 18.
oh, sorry.
So quick.
Okay,
All right,
sorry.
so, all right, so item 19, Mr. O'Shea,
Right,
did you have
for
a
adoption.
presentation to go with this? All right. Try it. You might try it again. It's been finicky. Oh, it's unplugged. When in doubt, plug it in.
That's been an issue.
You just found that out.
We get you a job in IT, Bill. There we go.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Chair, for the record, Bill O'Shea with Development Services. Here to present for you today. So we're here to discuss subdivisions. And back in 14, Ordinance 1424 was adopted, approving certified lot splits. It was based on, it should have been, normally when we'd look at lot splits, we were looking at the date of 1981, which was the adoption of the 80 Land Development Code. And in order to determine the parent parcel, it went back to that date. However, that date was removed when we adopted certified lots, and the deletion caused a lot of confusion amongst staff as to how the certified lots actually worked. So there was inconsistency in the way that the certified lots were occurring. In this amendment, we are providing additional options to developers to avoid the platting process. Platting takes a lot of time and extra money, so we've come up with some ways to approve individual lots for commercial and or residential without going through the formal platting process. So the first being allowing certified lot splits within approved shopping centers, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Allowing commercial minor subdivisions. Currently, we only allow residential minor subdivisions. Allowing access by easement in minor subdivisions, and those would be limited to residential minor subdivisions, and for certified lot splits. The amendment provides additional clarity and as I indicated earlier, allows more flexibility for developers. So the proposed changes is to add the definition of certified lots within a subdivision and modify the definition of parent parcel, and to modify certified lots, subdivision, subdivision major, and subdivision minor, moving the regulatory language from the definition of subdivision into section 330.2, which addresses the subdivision standards. It allows for access by easement under certain circumstances, and it adds the standards for certified lots within a shopping center. That is the skinny of it. I do have the language if you would like me to go in that specifically or answer any questions, but the request can be found to be consistent with the Manatee County Comprehensive Plan and in accordance with the Land Development Code, and again, the request is for adoption.
So I have a quick question, sort of a two-part quick question. Can you define what a minor subdivision is for us?
A minor subdivision is a subdivision that is between 3 and 10 lots. It does not require a street, so you're taking access off of an existing street.
Okay, but you're also referring to it as an easement. Can you sort of define an easement? And I'm mainly looking for width and sort of condition.
Sure. There are, and I do not have, let me see if I can show you that standard. Can we go to the document camera, please? Ooh, that's not very readable. Can you zoom in a little bit on the top part of the graphic? I guess you can't zoom in much. So there's 4 different scenarios, and the intent of the easement is to allow access to one lot through another. So you can only do it one time. This is addressed in the Public Standards Manual, but instead of having all of the streets within a minor subdivision located with access directly on the street, you can access a lot through a lot.
But essentially only one.
Well, you could do it, if you had a 10-lot subdivision, you could have 5 lots on the roadway, and you can do 5 access by easements.
Through individual lots, I see what you're saying.
Yes, but only one access through an existing lot to a second lot.
Thank you. I don't have anyone else on the board for questions. So we'll open this up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the board regarding item number 19 on today's agenda? Item 19. Seeing no one, will close public comment and we'll entertain motions. Madam Clerk, there's a motion by Commissioner Satcher to approve. It's been seconded by Commissioner Ballard. No commissioners on the board for discussion at this time. We've held public comment, so we can cast our votes now. And the item passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Thank you, Mr. O'Shea.
Thank you.
Mrs. Knapp, item number 20.
Item number 20 is LDCT 2311, Ordinance 2393, a county-initiated land development code text amendment regarding nonconformities by government acquisition, and this is the request to hold the second public hearing prior to 5 p.m.
All right, we'll open this item up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward to address the board regarding the first reading of item number 20? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. There are no commissioners on the board. Does any commissioners have comments or questions regarding item 20? All right, we'll close item 20. We'll go to item number 21. Mrs. Knapp? Wait.
Need a vote.
You do need a motion on this. Oh, that's right. To
Well,
approve the public hearing?
So when are we actually holding the hearing on this?
Prior to,
When the second hearing is scheduled, which I believe is December 7th, it will be, gives you the permission to hold it prior to 5 p.m., meaning at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter.
Understood. So this is coming back before the board for discussion.
yes, ma'am.
Correct.
For
And
a
this-
full hearing.
This relates to item number 10 from earlier today. Yep.
All right, and it does require action, so we're entertaining motions on the item. And we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Cruz, seconded by Commissioner Satcher. We've held public comment. There's no one on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. And Madam Clerk, the item passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Item number 21, Mrs. Knapp.
Item number 21, which is a companion to item number 18 from earlier today. This is LDC 2312, Ordinance 2398, County-Initiated Land Development Code text amendment regarding mobile vending, and this is a request to hold the second public hearing prior to 5 p.m.
All All right, any questions or concerns about item 21, commissioners? Hearing none, we'll open it up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to come forward to address the board on item number 21 on today's agenda? Item 21. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll entertain motions. Madam Clerk, we have a motion by Commissioner Ron. It's been seconded by Commissioner Bearden. The motion's to approve. We've held public comment. No one's on the board for discussion, so we can cast our votes at this time. All right, item number 21 passes unanimously by a vote of 6-0 with Commissioner Turner absent. Commissioners, any final thoughts before we close out today? Nope. Any comments from Mrs. Knapp?
No, Mr. Chair.
Madam Attorney?
No, sir.
All right. Then without further ado, we're adjourned.